Introduction: The hidden riches beneath your feet. Let me ask you something you may not have paused to truly consider before. What if the life you've been chasing is already within reach? What if everything you've been tirelessly looking for, success, happiness, purpose, peace, isn't out there in some distant land or in some future version of yourself, but quietly buried beneath the very ground you're standing on right now? In a world that constantly tells us we need more, do more, buy more, be more, it's no wonder we've been conditioned to look outward. Outward for validation, outward for fulfillment, outward for meaning. We scroll, we compare, we crave, we chase. We romanticize other people's lives. We measure our worth against curated perfection. And all the while, we overlook the sacred soil we're already standing on. This is where the story begins. This is the story of acres of diamonds, a story that's over a century old, yet more relevant now than ever before. Originally delivered as a simple speech by Russell Conwell, this parable has transformed millions of lives because it reminds us of something we've all forgotten in our modern age. The treasure you're searching for is not far away. It's not hidden in a new relationship, a new career, a new city, or a new version of yourself. It is buried deep within your ordinary life, quietly waiting to be discovered. But here's the truth that might surprise you. Most people never find their acres of diamonds, not because they're not there, but because they stop looking. Or worse, they assume nothing valuable could possibly come from what they already have. We live in a society obsessed with reinvention. We idolize the idea of escape from our jobs, our towns, our circumstances, even our identities. But what if the point isn't to escape? What if the point is to awaken, to open your eyes, to dig deeper, not farther, to stop running from your life and start mining it for meaning? And that's what this audiobook is all about. It's not about quick fixes or motivational hype. It's not about vague positivity or manifesting diamonds from thin air. It's about waking up to the real, grounded, often unpolished truth. You are already sitting on a gold mine. Think about it. That idea you keep dismissing because it feels too small. That talent you take for granted because it comes naturally to you. That person in your life you've stopped truly seeing. That business you started and then neglected. That city you convince yourself you've outgrown. Those aren't random details. Those are your fields. And beneath them, your diamonds lie, covered in dust, waiting for your attention. You see, the greatest tragedy isn't failure. The greatest tragedy is leaving your own life unexplored while coveting someone else's. We don't suffer from lack of resources. We suffer from lack of recognition, lack of stillness, lack of presence. We suffer because we are always somewhere else in our minds, never truly here. But if you're listening to this now, something in you is ready to stop chasing, to stop escaping, to turn around, to come home to your life, to your truth, to yourself, and to begin again, not by starting over, but by starting to see. In the chapters to come, we're going to explore the original Acres of Diamonds message, but through the lens of modern struggle, modern distractions, and modern purpose. We'll dig through old beliefs. We'll uncover overlooked opportunities. We'll shift our definition of value. And we'll come face to face with one of life's most humbling lessons. The thing you're seeking outside is seeking you within. So I invite you now to take a breath. Not just a shallow one, but a real one. A deep breath into your belly. Let go of the noise, the comparison, the not enough. Let it all drop away. And get ready, because as this journey unfolds, you might just discover that the answer you've been waiting for has been waiting for you, right here, right now, right beneath your feet. Welcome to Acres of Diamonds. Chapter 1, The Search That Never Ends, Why We Keep Looking Outside. We live in a world that glorifies the journey out there. We're told that meaning lives in motion, that happiness is something to be hunted. So we pack our emotional bags, real or metaphorical, and we go searching. We search for something better, brighter, shinier. And if we're honest, many of us have been searching for years. From the moment we're old enough to dream, we're taught to look beyond ourselves for fulfillment. The world hands us a list. Get the grades, get the degree, get the job, get the house, get the partner. Get the car. Get the approval. Get more. Then more. Then more. But at every checkpoint, something unsettling lingers. Is this it? That question, the quiet whisper after every success, follows us like a shadow. Because no matter how high we climb, no matter how far we travel, we always seem to arrive at the same conclusion. Something still feels missing. This is a curse of the endless search. And it's one of the deepest illusions we live under. The illusion that happiness exists somewhere else. That peace comes from something new. That fulfillment is tied to a destination we haven't reached yet. But what if that's a lie? What if the very act of searching is the thing pulling us away from the answer? Let's look closer. When we chase something external, whether it's success, recognition, love, or peace, our attention moves outward. We begin to believe that fulfillment is a possession, not a perception. We tie our sense of self to something we have to acquire, instead of something we already are. The result? A life spent chasing, but never arriving. A soul exhausted from looking everywhere but home. A mind that cannot rest because it believes the work of becoming is never complete. This chapter is about breaking that cycle. Because the truth is, the external world can only reflect what we believe internally. If we don't believe we are enough now, nothing we obtain will ever change that. If we don't see our value in the present, no amount of praise in the future will make it real. And if we don't pause to dig into our current life, we will overlook the diamonds we already possess. Think of the farmer in the original Acres of Diamond story. He sold his land and traveled far in search of wealth, convinced that success lived elsewhere. And what happened? He died empty-handed, never knowing that literal diamonds were buried in the very soil he abandoned. This story isn't just a parable. It's a mirror, because every day, people give up on their lives in search of something new, not realizing that new isn't always better. Sometimes, new is just a distraction from the discomfort of staying and seeing. So I ask you, what parts of your life have you been overlooking? What strengths, talents, or relationships have you dismissed because they feel too familiar? What soil have you refused to till because it didn't glitter on the surface? This chapter invites you to slow down, to notice, to reframe your restlessness not as a sign that you need to leave, but that you need to look deeper. Because the endless search isn't endless because there's more to find. It's endless because we keep searching in the wrong place. The answer isn't out there. It never was. It's in your awareness. It's in your perspective. It's in your willingness to stay where you are and dig. That's where the diamonds are. That's where they've always been. You just have to stop running long enough to see them. Chapter 2. The original Acres of Diamond story, retold for the modern soul. Let me take you back to the story that inspired it all, a story told over 6,000 times by Russell Conwell, a preacher, lawyer, and founder of Temple University. A story that captivated minds in the late 1800s and continues to whisper its timeless truth into the ears of anyone willing to listen. It begins with a man, a wealthy farmer, blessed with land and livestock, living a seemingly good life. But one day, he hears a tale from a visiting priest, a tale of dazzling fortunes found in distant lands, of people who grew rich discovering precious stones, diamonds, glittering just beneath the surface of foreign soils. Inspired, and perhaps a little shaken, this man becomes obsessed. He dreams of diamond by night, imagines wealth by day, and begins to feel something dangerous take root in his soul, dissatisfaction. Suddenly, his own land feels small. His farm feels dull. His life feels less, not because it changed, but because his mindset did. So, this man does what so many of us do when we feel like we're missing something. He leaves. He sells his farm, entrusts his family to others, and goes searching for wealth across continents. He wanders through deserts, mountains, cities. He chases rumors, hearsay, promises. But what he doesn't find are diamonds. Years pass. His hope dwindles. And in the end, tragically, he dies. Alone, poor, forgotten. Meanwhile, back at the farm he sold, yes, that same unremarkable land he abandoned, something happens. The new owner is out walking one morning along a creek that cuts through property, and there, among the pebbles, something catches his eye, a shiny stone. Odd-looking. Not quite a gem, not quite a rock. Curious. He keeps it. Later, he places it on his mantelpiece. A few weeks go by. A visitor comes to stay, a geologist. He sees the stone on the mantel and gasps. "Where did you find this?" he asks. The farmer shrugs, points toward the creek. "You're sitting on one of the richest diamond mines in the world," the geologist says. "That's not a stone. That's a diamond in the rough." What follows is historic. The land becomes a Golconda mine, one of the most productive diamond mines ever discovered. The original farmer had everything he was searching for literally beneath his feet, but he never saw it. Not because it wasn't there, but because he didn't know how to look. Now pause. Don't just hear this as a story from another era. Hear it as a mirror to your own life. How often have you ignored the value of your own skills because they come naturally? How often have you romanticized the idea of starting fresh because the present feels frustrating? How often have you walked right past your opportunities, your talents, your connections, your ideas, because they didn't sparkle enough to catch your attention? We assume the good life lives elsewhere, in someone else's job, in someone else's relationship, in someone else's path. We assume that if we could just go far enough, fast enough, we'd finally find it. But the truth is unsettling and liberating all at once. You're probably standing on acres of diamonds, but you'll never see them until you stop comparing, stop rushing, and start digging where you are. The old farmer didn't need to change his circumstances. He needed to change his perception. He didn't need to go on a wild journey. He needed to pay attention. That's the deeper message of this chapter. Not just that we have value, but that we have overlooked it. So I ask you, what diamonds are hiding in your daily routine? What insights are buried in your frustrations? What treasures lie dormant in your talents because you never thought they were rare? The good news is it's not too late. You don't need to sell your life. You don't need to start over. You need to wake up, right here, right now, because just like that farmer, you might be closer to your treasure than you think. Chapter 3, The Danger Comparison and Illusion of Elsewhere. Comparison. It's one of the most subtle and soul-draining forces in the modern world. And yet, we breathe like oxygen. Not because we want to, but because it's everywhere. Social media, marketing, pop culture, family expectations. Even our own inner critic whispers it. Look at them. Look at what they have. Look at who they are. Why aren't you like that yet? The result? A silent epidemic of discontent. We begin to measure the worth of our lives not by our values, but by someone else's highlight reel. And slowly, we forget how to appreciate our own journey. Comparison makes us believe in the myth of elsewhere. That happiness is there, not here. That fulfillment is found in a different job, relationship, city, or version of ourselves. We look at others' diamonds and assume they're brighter. We think, if I had their confidence, their opportunities, their life. But here's the truth no one likes to admit. Comparison is almost always a lie. You don't see their doubts. You don't see the price they paid. You don't see the sleepless nights, the buried traumas, the loneliness behind their smiles. You only see the surface, and you judge your whole life by it. This illusion creates what I call emotional exile. You exile yourself from your own life, your own dreams, your own purpose, because it doesn't look like someone else's. And just like the original farmer in Acres of Diamonds, you begin to resent what you have. You stop seeing it as valuable. You stop showing up for it. You start fantasizing about escape. But remember, that farmer had acres of diamonds. Not elsewhere. Here. He just couldn't see it, because comparison blinded him. So, let's do something revolutionary in this chapter. Let's reclaim your vision. Let's return to your life. Not as something to fix or flee from, but as something worth mining. Ask yourself, what have you been calling not enough only because it doesn't match someone else's story? What skills or gifts do you possess that you downplay because they're not as flashy or popular? Where in your life are you waiting for someone else's approval to finally feel like you matter? Here's what comparison never tells you. You were never meant to walk someone else's path. You were built to walk yours, fully, deeply, and presently. Your field may not look like theirs. But if you dig, you will find gold. If you stay, you will discover depth. When we chase elsewhere, we miss the richness of here. And here is the only place diamonds ever grow. So the next time you feel that tug, that ache that says, look at them, pause, take a breath, and whisper back, no, I will look at me. I will look at my life. I will look at my soil, my work, my path. Because this is your field. This is your calling. This is your diamond mine. And comparison? It's just a mirage designed to keep you from digging. Chapter 4. How to recognize the diamonds you already have. We live in an age that teaches us to notice what's missing, not what's present, not what's working, not what's quietly blooming in the background of our everyday life. The result? We become blind to our blessings. We forget to notice the things that, if taken away, would leave us on our knees. We overlook our health until illness reminds us. We ignore relationships until distance reminds us. We undervalue our ideas, our skills, our moments of peace, until loss reminds us what they were worth. This chapter is a wake-up call to stop waiting for reminders. Because the diamonds in your life, they've been waiting too long for your attention. The key to recognizing your diamonds isn't in adding more to your life. It's in seeing differently. It's in slowing down enough to shift from scarcity to sight, from lack to light. So how you do that? You begin by practicing deep noticing. Noticing what comes naturally to you, but is rare to others. Noticing the work you do that energizes you, not drains you. Noticing the people who show up for you without needing to be asked. Noticing the moments that feel rich even when nothing big is happening. That conversation with a friend that left you feeling lighter. That walk where your mind finally got quiet. That creative idea that bubbled up while you were making dinner. That skill you use so often you forgot it's a skill. These are not coincidences. They are clues. Clues that you're already standing on fertile ground. Clues that your field is full of value. You've just been looking too far ahead to see it. Recognizing your diamonds also requires you to detach from external validation, because diamonds aren't always obvious. They don't always get applause. Sometimes your greatest gift is invisible to others until you yourself believe in it. And sometimes your most powerful qualities, your empathy, your patience, your resilience, will never trend, never go viral, never earn a trophy. But they will transform your life. This chapter asks you to stop dismissing your own brilliance just because no one else is pointing it out. The fact that it's unrecognized doesn't mean it's unworthy. It just means it's waiting for you to wake up to it first. Here's a truth that will change your life if you let it in. You already have everything you need to become who you were meant to be, but you won't see it until you believe it's possible. Your potential isn't lost. It's just unmined. Your power isn't absent. It's just asleep. And the moment you begin to look around your current life, not with resentment, but with reverence, you will begin to see the soil glitter. You'll notice that your ordinary day is not so ordinary. Your ideas are not so small. Your connections are not so random. Everything has been leading you here, to this moment, to this realization, that you don't need to leave. You need to look. You don't need to run. You need to remember, because you're surrounded by diamonds. But only awareness can uncover them. Chapter 5. The Power of Inner Stillness and Reflection. There's a kind of wealth the world rarely celebrates. A kind that's quiet, unseen, difficult to measure. But once you touch it, everything begins to change. That wealth is inner stillness. In a world built on noise, notification, comparisons, endless striving, stillness is radical. It cuts through the fog like a blade. And in that silence, something begins to rise within you. Clarity. But clarity doesn't come when you're running. It doesn't come when your mind is chasing the future or reliving the past. It arrives when you stop, when you sit, when you listen. This chapter is an invitation back to yourself. Because what if the reason you haven't found your acres of diamonds yet isn't because they're not there, but because you've been too distracted to notice? Let's be honest. Most of us live in constant motion. We're scrolling, scheduling, planning, proving. We're trying to do enough, become enough, be seen enough. And in that swirl, we forget to be at all. We forget to ask, What do I actually value? What makes me feel alive, not just successful? What am I avoiding by staying busy? You see, busyness is often a disguise. It feels productive, but it's often protection. We use it to avoid the discomfort of stillness, because stillness makes us face what we buried. But here's the paradox. The treasure you're seeking is always buried beneath the noise, and only stillness has the map. Stillness is not passivity. It's not laziness. It's awareness. It's the moment when you stop reacting and start noticing. Think of stillness like digging through the soil of your own life. You clear the surface. You remove the clutter. And suddenly, glimmers begin to emerge. Insights, instincts, ideas you forgot you had. In stillness, your intuition has room to breathe. Your purpose becomes audible. Your fears become understandable. And your values rise to the top. Not someone else's values, not society's, yours. But this doesn't happen by accident. Stillness must be chosen. It must be protected. Because the world will always offer you a new distraction, a new metric, a new thing to chase. So how do you begin? You don't need a silent retreat. You need a few quiet minutes. In the morning, before a meeting, after a long day, close your eyes. Ask yourself, what matters most to me right now? Breathe. Listen. Let the answer rise, not from your head, but from your depth. You'll be shocked how much wisdom lives in you when you let it speak. And here's the truth. Most people never access their inner diamonds because they're afraid of silence. They're afraid of what they'll hear. But you are choosing to listen, to slow down, to feel, to mine your life, not with force, but with awareness. Stillness is your shovel. Reflection is your compass. And what you discover within will always outshine what you chase outside. Because what you are truly looking for is not in the noise. It's in you, waiting, glowing faintly, like a diamond under dust. Chapter 6. Cultivating gratitude for the soil you stand on. Gratitude. The word is everywhere, yet its power is rarely understood. It's easy to think of gratitude as a polite thank you, a fleeting mood, a moment during holidays. But in truth, gratitude is not a nicety. It's not decoration. It's a tool, a transformative, spiritual tool that can turn ordinary soil into sacred ground. In this chapter, we dig into the art of gratitude, not as a list, but as a lifestyle, not as a reaction, but as a deliberate act of reclaiming value from what we've overlooked. Because here's the hard truth. You will never harvest the diamonds beneath you if you resent the land you stand on. Too many people curse their life while waiting for a better one. They say, I'll be grateful when I get the promotion, when I find love, when I move away, when I finally make it. But diamonds don't grow in the when. They grow in the now. And if you don't learn to see the beauty in your current field, your job, your body, your experiences, your relationships, you will miss the treasure that's been forming all along. You see, gratitude is not about ignoring pain. It's about expanding perspective. It's saying, even in this stress, this waiting, this confusion, there is something here for me, something of value, something worth noticing. Gratitude softens you. It breaks the trance of not enoughness. It reopens your eyes to the gifts you were blind to, not just the big ones, especially not the flashy ones. We're talking about that one friend who checks on you when you fall silent, that moment of quiet before the world wakes up, the meals you didn't have to think twice about, the ability to walk, breathe, dream, cry, feel. These things seem small until they're gone, and once they're gone, we ache to have them back. But what if we didn't wait for loss to value what's here? What if we honored it now? Gratitude is the act of turning what we have into what we see. It turns a home into a haven, a journal into a sanctuary, a moment into a miracle, and most importantly, it turns your perspective from why don't I have more to how much more can I see? But cultivating this way of seeing doesn't happen passively. It requires presence, intention, repetition. It means waking up and asking, what am I already holding that I've been treating like it's not enough? Here's a simple but life-altering practice. Each night, before you sleep, write down 3 things from your day that you're grateful for, not the obvious ones. not the rehearsed ones. Dig deeper. I'm grateful for the way I didn't lose my temper when I normally would have. I'm grateful for the sun that hit the window while I washed dishes. I'm grateful I listened to that part of me that asked for rest. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about perspective mining. It's you putting on a new lens and realizing my field isn't barren. I've just been too focused on what it's not. Because here's what no one tells you. Gratitude grows diamonds. The more you honor what's here, the more it gives back. When you treat your life with reverence, your life begins to shine. Your path begins to unfold. The people who match your energy begin to appear. It's like the universe starts conspiring with you, not because you force it, but because you finally recognize what you already have. Gratitude isn't a response to perfection. It's a declaration that this flawed, unfinished, sometimes painful life is still beautiful. It's not easy, but it's everything. Because when you become grateful for the soil you stand on, you stop looking elsewhere for gold. You realize you've been standing on sacred ground all along. Chapter 7, The Final Dig. Living as a steward of your diamonds. There comes a moment in every journey where the searching ends. Not because you've reached a destination, but because you've realized you were never meant to leave home in the first place. This is that moment. This final chapter is not about acquiring anything new. It's about stepping into a sacred responsibility, living as a steward of your own gifts, your own ground, your own inner wealth. You've been taught to chase, to hustle, to prove yourself by how far you can go, how much you can get, how loud you can be. But the truth is, the most powerful life isn't the one built by chasing diamonds. It's the one built by caring for them. Let's pause and ask a soul-level question. What if your greatest calling is not out there, but right here, beneath your feet? What if everything you've been searching for was just waiting for you to say, I see you, I honor you, I'm ready now to take care of this? To live as a steward means you tend to your inner world like it matters, because it does. You honor your ideas, not because they're perfect, but because they are yours. You protect your peace. You make space for joy. You prune what no longer belongs. You stop borrowing your worth from what's trending and start investing it in what's timeless. It also means embracing this one radical idea. Your life is not a mistake. Your desires are not random. Your voice is not irrelevant. Everything inside you has value, but value in use turns to waste. That field of diamonds under your care, it needs cultivation. It needs consistency. It needs you to stop treating yourself like a side project and start living like you are the main story. Here's the beautiful part. You don't need to be famous to live meaningfully. You don't need millions of followers to change lives. You don't need external applause to validate internal purpose. You just need to start where you are, with what you have, and show up like it matters, because it does. Living as a steward of your diamonds means you build a relationship with yourself that is based on respect. Not self-obsession, not arrogance, but reverence. You realize you're not waiting to be chosen. You've already been chosen by existence itself. You're here. That's enough. And now, your work is to mine what you've been given, nurture it, and let it grow. In your own way, in your own voice, on your own timeline. And in doing so, you don't just become rich. You become whole. You become rooted. You become real. Because in the end, the treasure was never out there. It was always in the ordinary, in the overlooked, in the still moments, in the everyday soil of your life. And now, finally, you see it. You've done the work. You've dug deep. You've found what others missed. You are standing on acres of diamonds. So now you know, the life you were waiting for isn't down the road. It's not in the next job, the next move, or the next version of yourself. It's here. It's been here, quietly waiting beneath your feet. Your gifts, your instincts, your inner wisdom, your story. This audiobook wasn't just about motivation. It was a mirror, a map, a reminder that you are not empty. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are rich with raw, untapped potential. If only you stop long enough to see it. Now it's your turn to pause, to breathe, to look at your own life, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, what diamonds have I been overlooking in my daily routine? What field have I been trying to escape that might actually be full of gold? What part of me am I finally ready to reclaim? Your answers won't be loud. They won't come all at once. But if you keep digging, gently, patiently, consistently, you'll find them. And when you do, you'll realize you were never missing anything. You were just missing your own reflection. Seedling, if this message touched something deep in you, if it reminded you of your worth, your power, your possibility, then don't stop here. Hit subscribe. This channel is a space for inner growth, spiritual clarity, and personal awakening. For people like you, who are done chasing what they already have, who are ready to stop running and start returning to themselves. So subscribe. Come back. Let's keep digging together, because your life is an acre of diamonds, and it's time the world saw you shine.